Hello Internet. Welcome to Terraform.io crash course. My name is Diego Ferreira and you can find me at GitHub, at Catalyst Cloud, or at Medium. I work for X Team. We develop awesome things for lots of clients, and I just fell in love with Terraform a few months ago. So I'm here to walk you through some of the awesome things that Terraform can do. So the main problem we usually have with deploying infrastructure in the cloud is that someday someone in the company or in a project that you're working at might ask you to deploy stuff to the cloud. Maybe it's already running, maybe it's a new project. So you start thinking on how you're going to lay out all the things that you need. So usually big applications work within the cloud. Usually your company would have its own virtual private cloud, and you'd start deploying the instances, and then your application might need a database or an elastic file system. And if you have multiple instances, you're gonna need a load balancer for that, and also to configure your internet gateway. If your company has a private network, also a VPN access. So all this stuff, just imagine if you need to replicate it or change some parameters on it, or try to expand or contract all this infrastructure. How do you do that? You go to the console with either on AWS, Google Cloud, or any other provider. With Terraform, we do it a little bit simpler. We describe this infrastructure as code, and we can version control it. So we track every changes we've made, and we do it all in one place. So Terraform.io is awesome because it deploys infrastructure as code. It provides multiple services as providers. It's modular. You can create multiple modules to reuse your code or reference other people's code, and you can extend it through plugins, either a new provisioning method or even another provider. Let's say you want to deploy to Linode with Terraform. By default, there's no provider for Linode, but you can see later that there is a plugin for that, and Terraform.io architecture allows you to extend through plugins all these wonderful features. So let's just do it. The first thing we're gonna do is to install Terraform in your system. I'm currently running on Linux. Just gonna download it. So that's all there is, just one executable. So what do I do with it? Oh, I'm just gonna move it to my user local bin, and it's done. There it is, Terraform with all its commands. For now, we're gonna just stick with get, plan, and apply commands. These are the most important ones. We can basically create our infrastructure with those commands. Alright, what's next? So we just installed Terraform, and now we're gonna build, plan, apply, change, and destroy stuff. Okay, I already created a repository for this. I'm just gonna clone it. There we have it. There's nothing in it, and just like we want to. I'm gonna start by creating a simple file for Terraform. All configuration files for Terraform are .tf files, and I'm using Emacs to create those. The reason why it's that Emacs has a nice Terraform.el mode, which you can get from Melpa. And the first thing we need to get is the access keys from our provider. So I'm gonna be using AWS for this crash course. You might want to use another provider, and that's okay, but usually the process is the same. You get an access key and you describe your provider here. So how do we do that? So let's check the documentation on providers, AWS, and there you have it, a simple example on how to describe your AWS connection, access keys, and secret key. Okay, so this is what we need to connect to AWS. I'm also gonna specify that I'm gonna be using West 2 region. Okay, how do you get the access key and the secret key from AWS? So we've usually got to create one on our console. Alright, in your user configurations you can get to my security credentials, and here is where in the IAM you can configure your access keys. So basically what I'm going to do is to delete one to be able to create another one. I haven't used those yet, and I've downloaded the file key. So if you look here, these are our AWS access key and secret key, and usually we can just paste those here as strings within our main.tf file. But like I want to set this up on GitHub for version control, I want also to create another file where I can load these variables from. So I'm just going to create access.tf. I'm going to declare a variable AWS access key, and set it the default value for those equals to our access key. Also, I'm going to do it for the secret key. The same thing. So this is how you declare variables on Terraform. We're going to be using a lot of these variables. and these declarations. Okay. That's it. So we got our access figured out. What can we do to verify if this is okay? You can see here we have the access and the main.tf. Okay, we can just go ahead and go do a Terraform get. Terraform get is important if you have modules. So it would get the remote modules or the local modules and store it under a .terraform folder. We don't need those right now. We just need a Terraform plan. No changes. Infrastructure is up to date, which means there's nothing he needs to do. Okay, let's try to get some data from my AWS account using a really useful method from the provider, which is the data sources. What I want to get from my account is the security groups, for example. So I'm just going to go ahead and check how I use those and call the data. Data.security group. Let's say it's my sec group, and I'm gonna use also the declaration of the variables, but I don't want to set these common variables or these configuration variables in the same files as access.tf. I want to store variables in GitHub also. So I'm going to create a new file called variables.tf, and here I'm going to store security group. So variable default and here I need the security group ID. So I'm going to be querying by the ID of the group. So that's what my data, when I pass the ID, is going to query which security group on the AWS has the ID the same as my variable. So I'm gonna do a little cheating. I'm gonna just go ahead and check on my VPC into my default security group. So this is just a simple security group with no restrictions, and I'm going to grab the group ID and set it up in my security group. So this way I got to get the data from them. Now we can access the security group that we got from data and get information to the output. So the output will provide us with some information tagged by us, and for example I want to get the VPC ID that is the security group is using. So I'm just gonna query this information from my resource, which is data.aws security group .sec group. dot vpc id. So this is the information that we're going to get. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and do a Terraform plan. And that's it. So plan doesn't offer us the information we want to. It just provides us with what we're configuring in the configuration files are properly set. So I'm going to set apply, and now Terraform is going to reach out into AWS and get the information that we want. So this is it. We got the VPC ID we want. We can do this to get all sorts of information from data. We're going to see this later, how to get the AMI for our instances on AWS. So now, before going ahead and creating the instances, we might want to create a key pair to store in AWS so we can access our instance with this key pair. So we can only get access to the instances if we provide a key pair or use one that is already provided or created within the console for AWS. Since I want to do this all from my side, I'm doing as little as possible for the console. What I'm going to do is to create a new key pair. For the next step, we're going to reach into the documentation from Terraform and find out how to use the key pair. So here it is. Okay, we already have our public key. We want to add a key name and just add the resource that is this. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy those to here. As usual, I'm going to use a variable to set up my public key. And I'm also going to use a variable for the key name. Why do we take all the steps for every resource and get as little as possible in here without variables? The main reason is because we want to later on set out the configurations all in one file, which will be the variables file. And I'm just gonna go ahead and declare this here. Okay, so now we need to create our private and public keys. Just gonna go ahead and create my private key with OpenSSL. There we have it. Crashcourse.pen, and also create the public key from my private one. So there we have it, and now I can get my public key, and I'm just gonna copy it to my variable. So this is one of the drawbacks of Terraform yet. It cannot get variables directly from file. It's unfortunate, but we can live with it. Okay, I got my public key, I got my AWS key pair configured. Let's do a Terraform plan to see how it's gonna act. So right now he's planning to add one resource, which is our AWS key pair, and I'm gonna just go ahead and Terraform apply it. Okay, it has applied. Let's take a look at our folder right now. We have the access.tf file, the crashcourse.pem, the crashcourse pub, our main.tf, and one thing is new here, the terraform.state tf state file. This terraform.tf state file, it's what holds the information from your providers. So let's take a look on what it's saying. Okay, so here we have informations from Terraform, informations from our paths, the outputs we're delivering, resources that we already have over there. So basically the key pair and the data that we're querying. So we'll see this terraform.tf state grow as we keep on adding more stuff here. Okay, so we have our key pair. Let's open up the variables file again. And right now what I'm going to do is to deploy my EC2 instance, my first EC2 instance. So here's the resource to create a new AWS instance. Basically it's providing us with plenty of information, especially on how to get through the data resource the AMI ID, which is exactly what I want. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy all this and paste it over here on my main.tf. So what is this data doing here is getting the most recent Ubuntu image, Ubuntu trusty image, and filtering it by the virtualization type. So it's getting me the HVN latest trusty from Canonical. which is nice. I'm gonna use it. And also required is the instance type. We're using here a t2.micro instance, which is a free tier, so don't worry about costs here yet. With this in place, we already have everything we need to get this instance open up. So just gonna go ahead and save the main.tf file, plan it, so you can see that all the information that we explicitly set for the instance is here. The AMI that comes from data, the t2.micro instance type, but all the other things that are set here, they're computed. I mean, they will be set by AWS itself. So we don't want that. We create a key pair so we can use it on our AWS instance. So let's go ahead and use the key pair here. Key name equals. Now we're referencing another resource here. So we don't need the data prefix. We just need to define AWS key pair dot deployer dot key name. Okay, so now we see the key name here, crash course, and now we can access the EC2 instance that we're going to create. We can access through SSH using the private key that we create. But let us say that we want to define the security groups, so to get access to ports and traffic. So how do we do that? So let us check. So here we got the argument references, and we're looking for how to set the security groups. So we take a list of the security group names. Okay, we already get the security group from data. We're just going to go ahead and add this as an array, so that's why we're putting this between brackets. And I'm gonna just go ahead and use security group. Got the AWS sec group dot name. And that's it. Let's check if we can plan and apply this. Alright, here it is. You can see here that the hashtag, it's an indication that it's an argument that takes an array, and as the first element of this array we have the default, which is our security group that we are referencing for the ID in the variables. And now we can check if we can do Terraform apply here and deploy our EC2 instance. Okay, so now we've created an instance. Let's check on the AWS console where it is. Okay, we have our crash course instance here, and it has an IP. You can SSH into our instance here. Ubuntu at IP. Yes. Here we go. Alright, our key is unprotected, and the only thing that we need to do here is to do NSH mode and give it crashcourse.pem. Okay. Alright, we're inside Ubuntu in our private cloud on AWS, deployed through Terraform.io. Right, this is the basic process on how you create infrastructure with Terraform.io. But what I want to show you is how to version control it properly. So we might as well do a touch to a git ignore file, and we're going to open up this git ignore file. What do I not want to see in my GitHub repository? I don't want to see the access.tf file. Why? Because it has my keys to access the AWS account, and this is security risk, real big one, especially if you're dealing with a public repository. So no access.tf over there. Also, I don't want to add up these temporary files that my Emacs creates. So yeah, and also the autosave buffers from Emacs, and I don't want to definitely get over there by Terraform.tf state. So this is a big no-no. The Terraform.tf state file, it contains critical information about your infrastructure, and sometimes also data itself. So here you can see the resources, our AWS instance, information is about security groups and key pairs. This is all critical. So private and public IPs, all this information is how your Terraform is seeing the AWS instance. So if your main.tf or if your modules do not correspond to what's inside this file, it may destroy stuff. So for example, if you remove this Terraform.tf state from this folder and do a Terraform plan, it will probably try to undo most of the things or redo most of the things that you have. So let us see this working. So I'm just going to move Terraform, that state file, to a backup and do a Terraform plan. Yep, he's going to add a new key pair with the same name and a new instance. So that's why you need your terraform.tf state here. Okay, we're gonna roll back and move the terraform.tf state. And he will always check the current state on AWS against the terraform.tf state. So what you're going to see here is that we have no changes. Okay, so we check the tf state file, we check the .gitignore file. Let's just go ahead and git add everything up. Git status to see what we're going to deploy. Oh man, I almost published my private key. Yep, that's something I don't want to publish to GitHub. So press my.pem files. Let's set everything up. Our main variables, it's only that we want to deploy to the repo. And there you go. Here we have main variables properly committed, properly version controlled, and our instance running like a charm. Alright, that's it for a crash course. We built, we planned, we applied, we changed, we destroyed, and we version control it. And what's next? Well, that's just the start. We can go from here to modules and get going. Stretch the goals. Create databases, serverless services, Kubernetes, Dockerized instance. The sky's the limits. You can scale your infrastructure gradually and always automate as possible. There's also a Jenkins module for Terraform. So actually, Terraform module for Jenkins. So you can automate the Terraform deployment for new instance, for example, or new jobs. So as soon as you deploy their configurations to version control, Jenkins can run it and update your infrastructure. It's that easy. So you can automate Terraform and in your infra also, which is awesome. Thanks for your time, guys. You can also check on my Medium posts to get more info and grow to a cluster size, get lots of instances working together in the same project, or even update securities, SSL certs, and other stuff. Thanks for your time. Bye bye.